top stories, election results from Amhara and South yet to get to the board. And in Kenya, charcoal burning poses risk to food production. Hello and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Do stay with us. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has today attended the African Union Bureau virtual meeting on information sharing on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam GERD. The meeting has been summoned by Chairperson of the African Union and President of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi. According to the Prime Minister, the AU President said he will provide full report to the Bureau at appropriate time and discussion that would be deferred to a later date. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia disclosed that activities are well underway to help constituencies deliver preliminary results of the election within the next 2 days. In a press briefing here today, the chair of the board, Burtukan Mideksa, said most of constituencies have finalized their preliminary results from polling stations and delivered them to the board. Take a listen to this.
All constituencies are going ahead with tabulation, and one constituency in Addis already done with the tabulation, and they already made the preliminary results public, and about 4 constituencies in Gambela, and 3 regional council constituency in Benishangul, and 2 HOPR or parliamentary constituencies in that same region, Benishangul. They managed to announce the result. They are done with the tabulation. So basically, almost all the constituencies are working on the tabulation. Only one constituency didn't get a couple of the documents from a couple of polling stations. That's in Amhara, and another one in Afar. Otherwise, all the constituencies got the required result documentations from polling stations. They have embarked on the tabulation process.
Burtukan nevertheless added that polls in the Amhara and southern states have been surrounded by irregularities, citing complaints filed to the board by some contestant parties. She reiterated that there will be mechanisms to address these complaints, including recounts at the constituency level.
Complaints submitted by political parties. Unfortunately, there are too many. But some of those issues, legally, we're supposed to be submitted at the lower level of our structure, and some of the issues, there are irregularities, but not irregularities that could affect the result or the credibility of the process. So definitely we will address those issues as well and respond to the complaints, but that would not be a priority. But there are some major complaints. Many of them come from focus on the SNNP region, and the other one is Amhara region. So we will filter and we'll try to see whether the allegations are corroborated with relevant evidence. So if there is any discrepancy or legal issues, there could be some decision we got to make in terms of rerunning the election in that specific district.
Feedbacks from civic societies and international observers, such as the Eastern Africa Standby Force Election Observation Mission, African Union Election Observation Mission, and the Coalition of Civic Society Organizations for Election and Women Lawyers Association, have eased the board's burden, she said.
3 teams of observers, 2 international and 1 national, which is a coalition of almost 176 civil society organizations, issued a preliminary statement, on their observation. We are glad as an organization. We are glad we have this many observers involved in the process, because that adds a value in terms of giving a testimony to the credibility of the process, and also their recommendation. We take that really seriously to improve our practices and our institutional culture down the line, for upcoming elections as well.
Preliminary results being issued by constituencies can be taken as information till the board officially announces the final results report. The board, she said, discourages any one party or individual to post results or claim victory until it announces final results, adding that doing so is illegal. As Ethiopia finds itself in the midst of vote counting and certifying results, various scholars continue to reflect on the election day on Monday, the 6th election Ethiopia has conducted since 1995. Media and conflict resolution expert Aida Gashau told ETV that the peaceful completion of the election is a clear testimony that Ethiopia is on the right track in the democratization process and widening the political space. Alula Teklamariam has the details.
In an exclusive interview with ETV English, media and conflict resolution expert Aida Gashau mentioned her observation about the election process, calling it fair and transparent.
This was the first real election, and it's a momentous occasion. It's enormous, and for me, who lived through the previous elections, it's a moment to take reflection and a celebration of taking the first step towards democracy in our 2000-plus history.
Aida further called upon opposition political parties to accept the election outcome, whatever it could be, adding democracy is a process.
So that's the one thing, is that the process has already been so credible that it's easy to accept. And I believe that as it has been peaceful so far, if there are issues to be discussed, to do so in a peaceful manner, to bring the issues to the table, and have a dialogue on what the issues were, is the way forward. Because that's the only way that democracy works, is through dialogue, through debate, and making sure there is accountability on all sides.
She further underscored that the polls on Monday remains historic, in that they imply that the nation is on the right track in the democratization process and widening political space.
Well, what I hope the implication that it has for the international community is that Ethiopians are on their way to democracy. That this is the first step that we've taken. No matter what has been said in the past, this is it. That no matter what issues we have internally, that we're working on it to make sure that at least the Ethiopians are sending their representatives to parliament, so that the Ethiopian issues are being discussed by who they chose, which is the bedrock of democracy. So that's what the implication I hope the international community is getting.
Aida also told ETV how biased and partial the Western media outlets remained throughout the process.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the peaceful electoral process proved doomsday prophecies wrong. In a press briefing here today, it said Ethiopians have shown their unwavering commitment to decide in which track the country shall proceed. The huge voter turnout is a testament to the people of Ethiopia's commitment to take matters in their own hands. The Ethiopian people have spoken that they need peace. Listen to this.
You know, the election, the sixth national election has taken place in Ethiopia only this week. As you have seen, the turnout was massive, in contrast to the speculation of some pundits that maybe this election won't see a massive turnout. People are also very much disciplined. This is also in contrast to some doomsdayers who were wishing violence to take place after the elections. Media coverage was wide. I think most of you have been, in one way or another, have been covering it. There were both domestic international observers who have seen it, and it was a kind of unique type of elections that we have had in the history of our nations. The African Union, the African Commission's election team also has observed it. This team was led by President Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria. Yesterday, I think only yesterday, they have given a statement on what they have seen. They have expressed the fact that this pre-election and election processes were orderly, peaceful, and credible.
He added that the national election process was widely covered by the national and international media on the day of the election, noting that the African Union mission in Somalia, AMISOM, has confirmed that the election was free and fair, whereas a delegation comprising officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia and other relevant government agencies has left for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to discuss the situation of Ethiopian migrants in the country, according to the spokesperson.
We have sent a delegation, a delegation composed of various stakeholders, went to Saudi Arabia, is in Saudi Arabia right now, to create conducive atmosphere for the repatriation of our stranded compatriots in Saudi Arabia.
The spokesperson further made it clear that the delegation will confer with relevant Saudi Arabian officials regarding the protection of the rights of Ethiopian citizens in the country and strive to facilitate the repatriation process. The Ethiopian National Defense Forces dismissed claims of victory recently announced by the TPLF as baseless. Briefing journalists here today, the ministry made it clear that there is no tolerance for anti-peace elements creating havoc in the state of Tigray. The ministry further said it will remain vigilant in its struggle to ensure peace in Tigray by wiping out the remnants of the TPLF. Take a look.
In a press briefing here today, the ministry unmasked the TPLF's claims of victory as fabrications meant to create havoc. In connection with the 6th general election, the government of Ethiopia has decided to deploy the defense force instead of Tigray into various parts of the country. Getnet Adana, the PR director, told journalists, as part of this move, the TPLF mafias are using this deployment as an opportunity to instigate conflict and war in various parts of Tigray.
በትግራይ የነበረው ቀሪ ኃይላችን ለኦፕሬሽን ስራ በሚያመች ቦታ
Our defense force in the state of Tigray deployed into various zones for the purpose of election in the state. They are also receiving directions on how to keep routes safe for humanitarian access to the general public in Nderta, Mekele area. The militia forces and other TPLF gangs in the gorge are propagating lies. They have controlled some spots The TPLF mafias left the people in absolute misery while in power. The TPLF forces have been demolished by the defense forces. Thus, it is important to analyze the recent information released by TPLF forces. Let me assure you that the National Defense Forces are always ready to take proper actions against TPLF.
The government is always on a standby mood and helping rebuild the state its side.
የትግራይ ህዝብ እንደሚያውቀው መሰረተ ልማትን በፍጥነት
The Tigrayans know full well how the government is undertaking infrastructural facilities as well as other services within a short period of time. We have a message to all Tigrayans to work cooperatively with the government to restore peace and help wipe out the group.
According to Getiner, the National Defense Forces are taking proper airstrike actions based on scientific evidences near Mekelle town.
Welcome back. You're watching Addis News Hour. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs dismissed TPLF's claims of victory in some spots of Tigray, which were considered as strongholds of the Ethiopian Defense Forces. Briefing journalists here today, spokesperson of the ministry, Dina Mufti, said reports being echoed by the international media and some Western allies of the TPLF are meant to deliberately undermine the credibility of Ethiopia's elections. Solomon Daniel reports.
Ethiopia has been busy conducting its general elections this week. The government and observers are declaring the peaceful conduct of the election. The TPLF clique came up with claims of victory in some parts of Tigray in a fresh war it started early this week. Reports are also emerging about government's bombardment of selected targets as retaliation. Briefing journalists about the situation, the spokesperson of the Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs pointed out that the report is a clever tactic to create confusion among the world and possibly divert its attention from the successful election.
There is no fresh one going on, but there was always pursuit. There was always a hunt for those unlawful elements in the northern part of the country. Their hideouts are sometimes searched by the military, and whatever happens is actually searching them out and is flashing them out from where they have been hiding. And this is what is taking place. Otherwise, the government doesn't target any civilian. There is no any civilian targeted. When Ethiopia has conducted these historic and great elections, these forces who have been crying about what is happening now have never even made a reference to that election, which millions have come out and cast their vote for. Why is that? Why double standard? Why disrespect? Why they cry about those things? Why they create stories now? Why they didn't do it before it? This is simply a diversionary tactic, and they want to divert the attention of the Ethiopian government, the Ethiopian people, from what they are doing. Otherwise, Ethiopia is, Tigrayans are ours, they are our people, we take care of them. We never target, and Ethiopia never targets any civilian, and that's not in the interest of Ethiopia.
Regarding Sudan's request filed to the UN Security Council to meddle into the good negotiation before the second filling of Ethiopia's mega dam, the ambassador unequivocally pointed out that Ethiopia won't look for any negotiator except the African Union, and the matter lies between African countries, adding that the issue is more of a development and less of a security.
Why need to take the issue to the Security Council while our continental organization is effectively dealing with it? Because, by the way, we have agreed on so many technical issues and legal issues as well. Only few things are left. Why we appeal to the Sudanese to respect their continental organization, that is the African Union. This is an African issue. Nile is an African river. We don't need it to the Security Council. It's not also a security issue, it's an issue of development. They have been doing it so many times. They have taken it to Security Council earlier on. We say, no, we don't need it, Security Council. We need an African Union. African Union can handle it. And our advice, our appeal to them is actually to respect their continental organization, come back to their sense, and we can grow together as African nations under the umbrella of our continental organization, that is the African Union. There is no need for taking this to the Security Council.
Commenting on the recent visit of the country's foreign minister to Russia, Dina asserted that Russia fully backs Ethiopia's military operation in Tigray and vows to continue supporting all sorts of cooperation between the two nations.
A high-level Ethiopian government delegation led by Ahmed Shide, Minister of Finance, arrived in Berbera, Somaliland. Upon arrival in Berbera, the delegation was received by Somaliland President Musa Bihi Abdi and other officials. The delegation will attend the inauguration of Berbera Port, according to Somali Regional State Mass Media Agency.
It's now up to Egypt to come on board and agree with us that we are going to share these waters.
So Ethiopia is basically saying, rain falls onto the ground, forms a river, we just want to use it to generate power.
You people have got rain, this is why the British say, you people in the tropics, you have got rainwater, so you don't need the river water. Of course, we have now rejected this.
Some countries rely on this water more than others, or are thinking about it more than others. But that does not give them any more right on the use of this water than others. The colonial agreements cannot be accepted as valid anymore.
ህዳሴ ዛሬም በተለያየ መንገድ የሚደረግ ማንኛውም የቅኝ ግዛት እሳቢዎችን የማናስተናግድ በአፍሪካ ነፃ የሆነች ሀገር ብቻ ሳይሆን በአፍሪካ ነፃ ሆና የምትቀጥል ሀገር መሆኗን የምናረጋግጥበት ፕሮጀክት ነው።
The Ethiopian Irrigation Commission and the Korea Rural Community Cooperation (KRCC) have signed $94 million worth groundwater irrigation project. The groundwater irrigation project to be implemented in Adawecho district in Oromia region will have a capacity of developing 5,000 hectares of land and benefiting 20,000 households. On the signing ceremony, the Water, Irrigation and Energy Minister, Sileshi Bekele, said the project will be jointly financed by Ethiopian and Korean governments. Survey and design works will be conducted within 12 months, as the construction of the irrigation schemes is expected to be completed within a year. The project included 42 deep groundwater wells and revitalization of other wells excavated previously in the site. Yon Ong-kun, who signed the agreement on behalf of KRCC, said the project will have a significant role in enhancing bilateral cooperation between Ethiopia and Korea. The Congressional Black Caucus, CBC, of the U.S. encourages the continued cooperation and peaceful negotiations of all stakeholders in the construction of the GERD. These negotiations should be based on mutual benefit, good faith, and the principles of international law. In a statement issued today, the CBC said the multi-billion-dollar GERD project was announced in 2011 and will have a positive impact in the region by providing Africa's biggest hydropower dam that will generate approximately 6,000 megawatts of electricity, thus allowing Ethiopia to export power to neighboring countries. Goshu Melissa brings us up to speed.
The Congressional Black Caucus urges the United States and all other international actors to respect the 2015 Declaration of Principles trilateral agreement signed between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia, and to continue to play an impartial role on seeking the Council of the African Union and diplomats on the ground in the region. In particular, the African Union has a pivotal role by expressing to all parties that a peaceful negotiated deal benefits all, and not just some on the continent. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam project directly affects the flow of water, the supply of energy, and the food security, Egypt and Sudan say. Recently, the region's agricultural industry, the statement said, has suffered abnormal precipitation droughts. According to the caucus, with Egypt's rapidly growing population nearing 100 million, the GERD will help improve water supply and take pressure off the Nile River, which supplies an overwhelming majority of the country's fresh water. It recalled that in Ethiopia, the country is currently facing a drought that is expected to directly impact nearly 20% of its population, combined with a locust outbreak that has eaten more than 80,000 acres of crops in recent months. In Sudan, the dam will contribute to the country's water regulation and sediment reduction and expand agricultural projects, increase hydropower production and provide flood control. It pointed out the GERD project will have a positive impact on all countries involved and will help combat food security and lack of electricity and power supply, more fresh water to more people, and stabilize and grow the economies in the region. The Congressional Black Caucus supports a peaceful negotiation to the implementation of the GERD project and stands ready to support the African Union and all stakeholders on peacefully achieving a mutually beneficial agreement, underlined CBC.
An Ethiopian delegation met Riyadh officials to discuss on safety and protection of the human rights of Ethiopians living in Saudi Arabia. The two sides also exchanged views on how to facilitate the safe return of Ethiopian migrants living there, according to the Ethiopian embassy in Riyadh. Following the discussion, the two sides agreed to begin soon voluntary repatriation of undocumented Ethiopian migrants by ensuring their safety and dignity. The delegation also visited Ethiopians detained in Riyadh's Shumesi deportation center.
the greatest sights, the greatest adventures. We're your passport to the wonders of Africa.
To bring you stories of struggle, survival and hope.
So let's explore.
And finally, Kenya's economy largely depends on rain-fed agriculture. There are fears, though, that illegal charcoal burning now poses a threat to food production and export. Goshu Melisau has more from the CGTN.
Droughts have continuously threatened Kenya's food security, and one of the practices affecting water catchment areas is charcoal burning. Amid Franklin Katana in Kenya's Kilifi County, he has been in charcoal burning business for more than 20 years now. He says it has provided for him economical advantage. This has come at a cost.
Burning charcoal is very dangerous to one's health because of the dirt, and we sometimes get respiratory diseases. I don't have any job. This is what I depend on.
It helps us with food, clothing and schooling our children. We fall sick most of the time, but we always come back here to the bushes after receiving treatment. The authorities come here and arrest us, but once we come out of custody, we continue burning charcoal.
These bushes are now being prepared for traditional cleans set as to burn charcoal. Almost 10,000 of board used to produce a ton of charcoal. The economic interests of local communities have clashed with the country's environmental protection goals. Environmentalists wonder charcoal burning and the result of carbon emission continue to pose a huge threat to the environment.
Carbon is one of the great contributors to global warming. Yes, we have other gases. We have carbon, we have methane. Methane is the most dangerous among all the other gases, but carbon is the most dangerous because of its volume. But in terms of size, and it's dangerous in terms of size, methane is the worst. When you come to charcoal, charcoal contributes to carbon monoxide, and it has a carbon element, even the carbon dioxide here. So when you're talking about charcoal element, people who actually end up using the charcoal, one, they'll end up having health issues, respiratory problems due to breathing in this carbon. Also, they'll have problems of eyesight, all these problems. And compounding to this, they'll have problems of global warming because this carbon actually contributes to the greenhouse gases.
You're watching RD's News Hour, a quick recap of the day's headlines.